Good day everyone and welcome back to Kilohertz. In this video, I would like to go back to basics and talk about the Blink sketch. Well, the object of the video is to talk about the commands used in the sketch, example, digital write, delay, uh, and etc. All the rest of the commands that comes in there's not much in this one anyways, and expand upon them to show you how we can use them, how we can modify them if we have to. Well, a few years ago, I created an instructable called Arduino 101 that went into some details about the basic Arduino commands. Uh, if you can, I'm going to put a link for it down in the comment section, so you can take a look at it if you'd like. It's very interesting. It's very informative. There's a lot of information in there. So the idea is I will start with the blink test, show you how we can modify it, and in later videos add more LEDs, probably add some photoresistors, a buzzard or buttons or whatever I can think of, and introduce even more commands and talk about them. So for this video, I'm going to go ahead and start building the circuit. I'm going to show you how to build it. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because the idea is actually the sketch. All right, let's get into it. Alright, so to build the circuit, what I'm going to be using is a blue LED, a resistor. This one I believe is 220 ohms resistor. Get focus. There you go. If you're good enough and you can read the colors, go ahead. I'm going to be using a couple of jumper wires, a solderless breadboard, and an Arduino Uno. Alright, so in my old instructable that I wrote a couple of years back, I did not mention that we need to use a resistor. And of course I got crucified for that. However, they're absolutely right. But the object of the instructable that I did was not to show them how to build the circuit, but actually just to discuss the commands and not to Arduino. However, they're absolutely right, and this time I'm going to make a try and put a resistor in there. Boom. All right, so the LED, as you notice in here, it has a long lead and a short lead. The long lead is the positive, the short one is the negative, and we're going to use the positive to connect it to the resistor and to pin 5 on the Arduino. So let's go ahead and plug it in. I'm going to use the positive end on the right hand side from this perspective, and then let's put this down here so I can bend this a bit. As I said, the resistor is going to go to the positive end on the LED, so let's connect it here. There we go. Alright, and let's find a new place to put it. Alright, so the positive goes to the resistor, which we're going to connect it back to the Arduino. Alright, so since the positive, I'm going to use the red wire for the positive and the black wire for the negative. Just force of habit, that's how I use it all the time. And because of this, let's go Arduino. The red goes to pin number 5, and to the ground goes the black wire. So let's see, have we done this right? Because I keep on missing them most of the time. Yeah, it looks about right. So it's a very simple circuit. There's not much to it. As I said, it's not something complicated. I've already uploaded the sketch into the Arduino. Just test it out and see if it works. And there you go. It's your typical Blink sketch on pin number 5 right now, however. What I did is, just to make things a lot easier for me, I did the same circuit. However, because I'm lazy, I don't feel like doing this all the time. I took the blue LED and connected everything from the bottom in here, so it will simulate this sketch. Maybe we'll end up using this later on in the video. And obviously where the resistor is the positive link, and that's the negative link. And as the videos advance, I'll be adding more LEDs and more other components as well in here. Alright, so let's jump into the sketch to actually talk about it and see how things are. Alright, so when you first open up a blank sketch, it looks more or less like this. You have a place to enter information within the void setup, and information to be entered within the void loop itself. Alright, so I'm going to keep it very simple, and I'm not going to start talking about integers right now or variables. And we know that we would like to connect that LED, or that blue LED, on pin number 5 on the Arduino. So the first thing we need to do within the void setup is we need to set the pin mode. And to set the pin mode, simply type PIN with then capital MODE, which is pin mode with a capital M, and then the next option and the argument within this function has to be is the pin, which is pin number 5. Okay, and what are we doing with pin number 5? Since we're setting the pin mode, there are two things we can set within the pin mode, which is, or the most used values are either an output or an input. Since we are putting an LED in here and we expect it to output the light, so we're gonna set it to be an output. And as you can see, the output has to be written all in capital letters. So whenever we use pin mode, we either use it as where we have to put which pin are we referring to, and then we have to define the argument whether it's going to be an output or an input. Since we're using an LED again, we set it up as an output. And now it's always a good common practice that you explain what's happening in here. That the way to explain it is by putting the two backslashes or front slashes, I'm not sure which ones they are. By putting those slashes, you tell the program that this is only a text for an explanation, not to be used in the code itself. Alright, so in here, set pin 5 as an output. And in here you can actually type whatever you want. Alright, and in the void setup, that's pretty much it. There's nothing else to do. And next in the loop, there are two functions that we are going to discuss. The first function, which is called digital write. And what does this do? It actually tells the Arduino on that pin or specific pin, in our case it's going to be pin number 5, go ahead and write a high voltage in there, or send the 1 command, or apply voltage, in other words turn on the LED. So again, the argument has to be in capital letters finished by a semicolon, and we were going to explain what's going on here. And this is turning on the blue LED. The next command we will talk about, it's called delay. And the function delay, its job is to hold the previous function for a certain amount of time. And that certain amount of time is defined in milliseconds. So let's say, for example, we would like to turn on the LED and keep it on for about 1 second. This means that we have to write 1000, because 1000 milliseconds is equivalent of 1 second. And of course you can put 100, a 1, or 2, any number that you want, depending on how you like it to, how fast you like it to blink, or how slow you like it to blink. So in here we're gonna say wait 1 second. Alright, now so far what have we done? In the void setup, we set up the pin mode on pin number 5 to be an output. And of course, as we all know, in the void setup, it's all the functions that you need to run only once within the program. Then in the loop itself, we go ahead and we tell the Arduino turn on the LED by writing a high, or send the voltage to pin number 5, and wait for about 1 second. Now, since we want it to blink, the next logical thing to do is to tell the Arduino now it's time to turn off the LED. The same way we use the digital write. Okay, and it always has to be done this way, where digital is all in small letters, and the W and write has to be in capital letters. Well, it doesn't matter if you leave space here or not, that doesn't make a difference, but it's very important to write the command as is, because if I don't, as you notice in here, I write digital write like this, it stays black, it doesn't change color, so it tells me that something is wrong here. It doesn't work out. So alright, so again, now it's time to turn off the LED. So we're telling it, alright, give me a natural 0, or turn off the LED by sending it to low on pin number 5. Again, we go ahead and explain what's going on. So turn off the LED, the blue LED, because at some point we're going to be adding more LEDs, and I would like to differentiate which one is which. And again, we're going to delay because I wanted to hold that turning off for another second. 1000. Okay, and that's pretty much it. That's the whole sketch. Now let's make it look pretty. Alright, so just to recap, we're not getting into any variables in here because I'm only using one LED right now. It's easy to control which one is which. So the pin mode in the void setup, the job of pin mode is to define that pin number 5 is going to be used as an output. Now, and of course, anything that's written here in the void setup gets executed only once at the beginning of the program. However, when we get to the loop, which the name implies a loop, it keeps on going and going and going until you turn off the power of the LED. Turn off the power of the Arduino. I showed you how to use the command digital write by defining the pin and setting a value to that pin. In this case, we write it high, so it's either a high or a low. A high means send me 5 volts or 3.3 volts, it depends which Arduino are you using. Or if you're sending a low, this means that, alright, cut off the voltage or send a 0 or whatever the number is that's going to cut off the power. And the delay function its job is to hold the function before it for a certain amount of time in milliseconds. Well, in this case we're using 1000. Alright, let's go ahead and verify if the program is fine, or if we have any issues. Did we forget a semicolon somewhere? And that's taking too long. No, it actually tells me that it's done compiling. Alright, so we're good. Now, the idea is just to test it to see if it works. We need to plug in the Arduino. Alright, I hope it's still on COM number 3. And let's upload the sketch. And there we go. It's running fine. Now what happens if I don't know, instead of 1000, give me 500. Keep it for half a second instead of 1000. Let's see. Does it make any difference? Yep. It seems to be turning on and off a lot faster, and I can even make it, I don't know, even faster than this. Let's go for 50. And we'll upload it. And there you go. Alright, so for the next video, I plan to add a couple of more LEDs, and I'm going to introduce actually the variables and what's the reason we have variables in there. As you will see, it's going to get more complicated just using pin 5, pin 6, pin 7, etc. And if you need to change one of them, the position of one from 6 to 7 is going to be a lot easier if you have defined integers or variables. So until next time, stay safe and keep making.